In this video, we will attempt to forecast the future share price of an investment bank on the 1st of June 2019. To undertake this forecast, we collected the data of 5 big, well-established investment banks. The banks are UBS, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley. All the data gathered that will be used in this video was retrieved from the website Yahoo Finance. The first part of this video will consist of the calculation of the weighted moving average of the share price for the 5 investment banks that we selected. In the second part, these weights will be used to forecast the share price of another investment bank. For now, these weights were arbitrarily defined in the table on the top right corner of your screen. We will now forecast the projected share price for the 1st of June by using these arbitrary weights. This method produces a forecast by calculating the moving average of a predetermined number of past periods and by weighting these periods independently. Let's get to it and look at the historical share price of UBS. In this table, we can see the monthly evolution of UBS share price from the 1st of May 2016 to the 1st of May 2019. We will now use the technique of the weighted moving average to forecast the share price of the next month. The value of the share price for the 1st of May, which corresponds to T-1, is thus weighted at 80% of the estimate. The 1st of April prices account for 10% of the forecast, the 1st of March prices for 5%, and the last period for 5%. Now have our forecast. As we can see, we have a mean average percentage error of 5.4%. However, this value can still be improved. We now open the solver. The mappe is set as the objective function that will be minimized by setting the weights as the variables. Finally, our constraint is the sum of the weights that shall be equal to 1. We now press on Solve. We applied the same process to the remaining 4 investment banks: Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley. We observed that the optimized weights vary from bank to bank. Now that we have calculated optimum weights for the different investment banks, we are interested in creating a general model which can be applied to another financial institution. For the purpose of this video, Citigroup will be used as an example. In order to come up with a model which is as precise as possible, we introduce a notion of influence. These influence values are aimed at defining the impact that the different weights will have on our model. The influence is based on the beta values of the different banks. The idea is that banks with a beta close to the one of Citigroup are to be weighted more in the model, as their behavior is assumed to resemble the one of Citigroup. First, the respective percentage of each bank is calculated by dividing each bank's beta by the one of Citigroup. From there, the percentage influence is derived so it sums up to 1. A classical method would require to average the 5 weights affecting the same time period. Here, the first weight of the model T-1 would be equal to the sum of all the T-1 values divided by 5. The same applies for the other time periods. However, In order to come up with a more accurate result, we add the aforementioned notion of influences to the model. Concretely, this implies that for every time period, the influence level of each bank is taken into account when computing our final weights. Finally, we apply the newly calculated weights to forecast the share price of Citigroup for the next period in the exact same way as previously done for the other 5 financial institutions. Considering that we only have the stock price data of the last 12 months, this model will help us forecast the share price of Citigroup. Here, we can observe that the model generates a MAPE of 8.6%, which is a relatively good result. Summing up, we applied the weighted moving average method to forecast the share price of 5 different investment banks. In the second part of the video, the average of the optimal weights per period for the different banks was calculated by giving more importance to banks with similar beta values. Thanks to these average weights, the share price of Citigroup on the 1st of June was forecasted.